excited to be talking about budgeting. Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. This is day 20 of our 25-day Christmas series. We want to talk about budgeting.
She wants to talk about budgeting because I personally stink at budgeting.
And I know often when the holidays come, it's really, really hard to figure out how to set money aside for presents, for events, for this special time of the year. So let's talk. Now, don't forget, our amounts are going to be completely different. It changes from year to year. It obviously depends on everybody's financial circumstances. So don't decide what your budget is until you've sat down with your spouse and you've agreed on an amount that is within your means that will not be a financial burden for you.
So in the past, I have budgeted for Christmas. I think last year my budget was about $200 per kid. But my youngest, the twins, since they're babies and they didn't really need much because I had a whole bunch of like hand-me-downs and they had the toys from the older ones, I spent maybe like less than $50 on them. But this year I actually have been on the lookout for deals throughout the year, and I've just sort of collected things throughout the year that I found like on sale that I knew that I wanted to get them for Christmas. And so I honestly cannot tell you how much I've spent this year because I've sort of been buying throughout the year.
And I think a lot of people use that method, which works, especially if it's easier to spread out that financial piece throughout the year. So there's been years when we spent $50 on each person. There's also been times when we've only done the 4 gifts.
Something you want, something you need, something to wear, and something to read.
And that actually can save you a lot of money, especially if the want one is something affordable. Other years, we have decided to do like a family vacation. I don't usually include that in the budget because obviously that's a little bit more since that is the yearly family vacation. But this year, I decided to do $50 because I feel like they have plenty. And it actually ended up being more, and that's because my wonderful husband decided that he wanted to include a few more things in. And so the budget kind of went out the door. An idea that came to my mind as we were approaching Christmas and thinking about budgeting is if you're really struggling with how much to spend, or you and your spouse are on different pages on how much you should spend, I think it's really important for accountability purposes to get a gift card with the budget that you both decided on, and then that's the only amount that you can use. That way, it kind of keeps you accountable, and you're not just going and splurging and buying whatever you find on sale or whatever your kids would like. It really allows you to just spend that much.
I think that's a great idea, and I will probably do that next year to keep myself in check because otherwise I just spend way too much.
I think that's one of the problems. Oftentimes you go to the store and you have a credit card and you don't actually pay attention to how much are you spending because you might even pick up a few things from Aldi, for example, when you're grocery shopping. So then of course it's really hard to separate that budget of the things that are for Christmas versus the grocery things.
And an alternative to doing the gift card is even just getting out cash and just using the cash, because then if you are grocery shopping and then you do have a couple extra things that you want to buy that are related to Christmas, you can just bring out the cash and kind of pay for it separately. And then you can also visually see like the cash pile going down and seeing like how much you're actually spending, because when you're spending with a card, it's really hard to see how much you're spending.
Until the morning of Christmas, when you notice the kids have way too many gifts under the Christmas tree.
I am definitely guilty of that.
I think we all fall into that category at some point. I think it's just crucial to make sure that the focus is not the actual gifts. So that's why I want to make sure that we chit-chat about budgeting so that we can actually step back and think, how much are we spending? Is this a good amount? Is this something that you and your spouse agreed on? Are we super financially well off where we're just throwing money into these gifts and the kids play with them for a month and then they just end up again just around the house not being used? Because let's be real, we don't want the kids to get to that place. We want to make sure that we instill gratefulness into the kids, and that's really hard to do when they have everything they can possibly need.
Something my husband has started since he has seen how much I have spent on Christmas this year is he actually suggested that every time we make a purchase, we actually text the other person what we're purchasing and how much, because it keeps you accountable on how much you're buying and what you're buying. And if you have to send a text every single time you do it, you're realizing that you're spending way too much and you're buying way too much, and you really think about if they really need that extra item that you're buying.
I love that idea, and that's because it really adds the accountability. I think as adults, we have this idea, I'm an adult, I don't need accountability, and the truth is we all need accountability in our life. Whether it is about budgeting or other things, I think it's important to recognize that even adults need that accountability just as much as kids do when it comes to chores or other things that they are responsible for.
Another thing to keep you on track is for every new toy that you plan on bringing into the house, you have to make sure you get rid of another toy first. You can bring it to your Goodwill, so not just planning on doing it, but before you even buy the toy, bring the toy to the Goodwill, and then you can go to the store or hop on Amazon and purchase it. But that way it'll control what you're spending and what you're bringing in.
Or if you're trying to even minimize more, it's really important that as one thing comes in, you pass on two things. That way, as you're accumulating more things, you're actually minimizing and getting less things in the house. Also keep in mind that as the kids get older, obviously their gifts get more expensive. For example, if your child needs like a tablet for school, take in consideration that you can pay for half of it as a Christmas gift and maybe they need to save up for the other half. This can teach your kids to be responsible with their money.
One last thing you can implement is if you're someone who buys throughout the year like me, so you're not keeping track of what you're spending and you just end up with a hoard of gifts at the end, is you can just plan on one day of going out shopping. It could be Black Friday or just a random day throughout the year, and you can say, okay, this is my one day to buy Christmas gifts, whether you're physically shopping or buying on Amazon, and outside of that day, you're not allowed to buy any more gifts.
This is not a good time to get into debt. And if you are already in debt, this is not a time to get more into debt. So make sure that your budget is realistic for your family, something that you can stick with. And don't forget, guys, it's totally okay for your kids to get less. I think we've built this culture or expectation that our kids need to get tons and tons of things. Just stick with the 4 things or just get them something small and something sweet, and that's totally okay.
Mamas, if you have any great budgeting tips or money saving tips for Christmas, please drop them down in the comment section below.
And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for our daily Christmas releases.